Well, guys, welcome to the third episode that I'm recording for the Masked Sessions. So I'm delighted to have both of you. So I have Ross McHale and Geraldine Carton.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, hi.
Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for having us.
And both of you, I've actually received both of your pieces for this year.
Yeah.
So it was really cool, and I loved both of them. And thanks so much because you got the golden tickets, both of you.
Yeah, that was so exciting.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was good fun. Like, it was kind of something a bit different, and people seemed to buy into it. Except it was kind of random because I had to send people, messages going, "Oh, just send me your home address," and just send this random guy. That
I'm just a mystery masked man.
Yeah, exactly. So no, there's 20. I think there's 20 artists who have the golden tickets, and so they're an exciting 20. And I was thrilled. Like, everybody was receptive to them. You two being included, and so yeah, it was class. I'm looking forward to it. And do you know where the new venue is? I just showed Ross there. I brought him around the corner. It's not this one. It's the big building on the road.
Yes.
So it's called, One in Charman Square.
Yeah.
So Gormley's had an exhibition there. So I have the 2 floors there. So
2 floors.
So it's brilliant because it gives me so much more room to accept more art. So I was in Studio 10 before, where you exhibited last year, and obviously it's smaller, so you're much more kind of conscious of the size of the pieces that came in. So it's a lot easier now to fit more pieces in. So I'm delighted the two of you are in the show.
Thanks. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a huge step up compared to, Studio 10 was lovely, but like that space, 2 floors, it's straight enormous.
Yeah. So, and actually you'll have an opportunity to go into it before, because Gormley's, I believe, are having an exhibition there. September time, I think theirs is for, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks, and then they're taking theirs down, and then I'm starting immediately to move mine in there. So it'll be interesting, it'll be good, so yeah, it's class. So I was going to ask you, Geraldine, here's a random question for you.
Oh.
You're the 3rd Carton I've met.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Where did you meet the rest of them?
It's such a small world. It's such a small world. Well, I have 2 kids.
Oh, yeah.
So I've seen 2 of your sisters. I don't know their names, but one of my friends pointed them out.
Yeah.
Because we share the same schools and things like that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy, like. And
so you've seen 3 of 5?
Yeah, is there 5?
5.
Because I was actually standing in Studio 10 on maybe the first day of opening the exhibition last year with one of my friends.
Oh, yeah.
The next one, all of you came in.
Yeah, with all the kids.
Yeah, the whole troop of you. And I was there going, oh, God, right? Because the two that I recognise, because I would see one of them every day. Yeah, and then one of the other sisters I used to see, but I see them kind of walking around.
Yeah.
So it's very random. And then my friend, I think, knows one of them, and he was there, oh, that's Geraldine's sister. And I was there going, my God, it's such a small world.
Yeah, they turned your lovely exhibition into a crash for about 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. So the first piece of work I came across, Geraldine, with yours was the piece that you submitted last year. So it caught my eye. And so, Ross, it was a lady sitting on a toilet seat reading her iPhone. So, and I remember...
Scroll.
You which?
Having a scroll.
And I remember seeing it, and it was fantastic. Like, it caught my eye immediately. And then the snippet of information you gave about yourself was fantastic. I loved that section for people. It really kind of gives you an idea about the art and who they are. And so that was a fantastic piece. And it was a great talking point. A lot of people really enjoyed it because it's kind of, and I think it sort of moves on to some of your more current work. It's female orientated and sort of, there's always humour, I think, sort of dabbled into some of your work that I've seen, which I really like. And the latest piece then that you submitted was fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, so tell us about the piece that you submitted.
So the piece I submitted is actually, it's of a photo that was taken at the same time. I did an in-person shoot with a group of women, actually, and it was amazing. It was last year. Like, I didn't know any of them, they didn't know me, and it was only the start of this kind of bigger project I've been doing over the last kind of year and a half now. And and it's all about women and their experience of life and their experience of life in their bodies particularly. So I wanted to do a series of paintings that featured women completely nude but doing things that could be normal, such as scrolling on your phone on the toilet, or other kind of realities of an experience that a woman would often have or knows throughout their life. So for example, I did another bigger painting of like a mansplaining happening. So it's of the women all posed and they're all kind of rolling their eyes and we're like and then it was actually one of the women was posing, pretending to mansplain, but eventually I had to get my boyfriend to stand in, who's, God bless him, he's just forever a mansplainer. But he very kindly agreed to. But basically that image came from that day because we were all kind of running around my home thinking of ideas that would be like good or powerful or kind of things that spoke to a lot of people, but also funny. And that I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and I'm thrilled that that kind of resonates because the trope of women not being funny is something that grinds my gears so much, and it really fills me with a particular rage because I think women are so funny, and I think women have been primed from birth to focus on something other than their personality. This is kind of a sweeping statement, but if you just bear with me, because I think men, their kind of stronghold was their sense of humor, their ability to kind of back and forth and slag each other, and that's where they could kind of create a sense of maybe worth or I don't know, strength, so to speak, whilst women were kind of primed to be pretty and to be good and to be appeasing and likable. So I feel like now that we live in a world where, you know, that's kind of, things are evening out in a much better direction, but I feel like we're at a lower or at a more of a disadvantage because we weren't primed to foster those muscles, so to speak. Now we're kind of in a current state of like people being like, oh, well, women just aren't funny. And it's not that we're not funny, it's just we weren't given the chance to express that side of ourselves. So there's, you know, the landscape of comedians and comedy actors means that there's just way more men than there are women, and it's not, I think, a fair reflection of women's sensibilities and women's sense of humour. And so that's something that I do feel strongly about. Whilst I'd love to create powerful paintings and paintings that speak to people and women in particular, I really do want to show that funny side of women as well, wherever I can, and I guess less in a kind of ho ho ho, and maybe as you kind of kindly said, in a more of a unexpected undertones way.
Yeah, no, they're brilliant because I also went to it was during the RHA annual show. There was drawing class or something upstairs, and Ross, there was another piece that Geraldine had there. That was the one with, sorry, I think you had two pieces there actually, but the larger one from memory was about, I'm going to say like 20 women standing nude.
Yeah, I think
there's like 8.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, but it feels like 20.
It feels like a lot. And yeah, that was fantastic. And I remember you put that message out on Instagram saying, you know, I don't know if it was for that particular painting, but like, would anyone like to, you know, pose for a painting? And obviously, like, to ask people to pose for a painting when you're fully nude is quite the request. But by all accounts, when I was following it, you weren't short of offers.
No. And I'm so in awe of these women because, again, like, these are kind of virtual strangers, and I would never do that. Like, it's so brave, it's so vulnerable, so exposing in every possible sense, and yet they've been kind enough and generous of spirit and of their body to do this. I feel like, but they get the message and they get the kind of aim of this project, so it does feel like we're all in it together in a way. Like, I know they're my paintings and I'm doing the work of making them, but it does feel more of a group project because they're giving so much of themselves for its creation. So yeah, I'm just so grateful to these women for letting me paint them, because otherwise it would just be, I don't know.
Did you have good fun with them all? Like,
yeah, they're amazing. And it was, well, not only was it fun and like invigorating, and actually it's amazing how quickly your embarrassment goes with the idea of nudity, because of course it's something that's so kind of that I balk at in everyday setting. But because all of us were together, it started off, we were just all took off our bras and was kind of just doing sketchy just to warm up, and then all the women actually went nude, and I kind of was like, look, I don't want to go nude, that's just not, and also I'm here trying to draw at the same time, like you have to think of the logistics as well. But actually by the end of it I was like, I feel like they've given so much of themselves. It would be disingenuous of me to not as well. So I actually did go full nude by the end of it. And like when I say I was shaking, I was like, okay, just take the photo. Let's just get this over with. But it really did make me appreciate what they had done.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because it was also like, yeah, as I said, you know, empowering, kind of invigorating, but also the conversations that come about just naturally kind of being like, what's your experience with your body? And God, you know, I know my experience has been really complicated, but it was amazing and kind of devastating and heartwarming to hear that we had so many common experiences that we could kind of connect over. So yeah, great.
That's fantastic. And Ross did a very brave thing for his entry this year. He did a portrait of your girlfriend.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That is a super, super brave thing to do. How did she receive it?
She liked it. Yeah. I wasn't sure like how she'd feel about it, but no, she likes it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started off painting it, and it was like it was not looking like her at all at the start. And I was sending her pictures, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And she was kind of like, I don't know. And then when I got to the end and I looked back at those first few pictures, I was like, that was terrible. That looked nothing like you. But yeah, no, she was very helpful with everything, yeah. And letting me take pictures of her, which is not easy. As you were saying, to get someone to pose for you for a painting, I had to take like 50 pictures with set up the lighting and everything. But no, she was on board for it, yeah.
And Geraldine, I don't know if you know, but Ross, my first time I came across your work was the Zurich Young Portrait Prize sort of show that was on in the National Gallery. Raven's Reflection.
Yeah.
That was the first painting I saw of his, and it stood out massively.
Was that the self-portrait?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was great.
With the blurry nose.
Yeah. And the two ravens kind of on the wires in the background.
Yeah.
So I remember that stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
I remember taking a photograph of that. And yeah, like, because like Ross is in second year in. Are you going in second year or just finished?
Going into second year now.
Going into second year in NCAD, and you're also. Am I right in saying you've been shortlisted again for
this year?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I entered this year, but I didn't get through.
Oh, you didn't get through.
Yeah. I was in for the children's one a few times, and this was my first year in like the adult one to enter, and I didn't get through. But yeah.
So yeah, so for the Young Portrait Prize, do they have like an age cutoff?
Yeah, it's up to 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So you just 19.
I'm 19 now. Yeah.
You're an adult now.
Yeah, I'm in, in the big leagues now, but so I wasn't really expecting much for the adult exhibition.
Yeah.
And sure, I have like the rest of my life now.
Yeah, because like, do many people, like, is there a big application? Like, do a lot of people apply to it?
Yeah, they said they had hundreds for it this year. And I was looking at the results. I think they released them last week. Yeah, some really nice work. So
okay, yeah,
definitely going to be looking in. I just got a job as a tour guide in the gallery as well.
Brilliant.
So I'm going to be in more often now. So yeah, I'll be looking around definitely.
And for the Young Portrait Prize,
yeah,
is there a lot of applications for that as well?
Yeah, I think there is. It's very popular. Yeah, I entered it since I was, I think, 15.
Okay.
I was just kind of entering as many competitions as I could, as I was kind of figuring out how to draw and paint. Like I entered the Texaco one I got a few times, just any kind of opportunity that I got, and then worked out well in the Zurich one.
Yeah, and was that the first time you were in the Zurich one?
Right. I was in it a few times. I was in it, I think, every year since I was 15 until 18.
That's a serious achievement.
Mm.
Yeah, that is, because like I remember when I went to it last year, like the quality was like it's insane.
Even like you see a painting and it'll be by an 11-year-old.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And it looked like just as good as some that's in the adult competition, and like it's just unbelievable. I hope they all keep it up as well. But it's great encouragement as well when you're starting off. Like you can say your work has been in the National Gallery.
Yeah.
And it sounds great. And then that's what kept me making art. Just I was in the community games competition a lot when I was younger. That's why I started making
what is the community games? Sorry?
It's young people's competition that's kind of sports, but they have art as well. They have a lot of events. You kind of do it in primary school, and it's an All Ireland thing. So I remember the first one when I was 7, entering that, and then I got to the All Irelands a few times in that, and no, but like, I was just saying that's like great encouragement when you're starting off, just any competitions that are on.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Like, it's great exposure to obviously get into them.
Definitely. If that's how you saw me from the National Gallery.
No, like, it stuck in my mind. I actually still remember where it was hung.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like, that's like, I look at them all, like, and it's because like your area, your contemporary art, Geraldine, and yours seems to be portraiture a lot, or...
Yeah, it is. Well, that's kind of what I've been doing, and in first year I didn't do any portraits. I was kind of just trying to experiment and do new things, and I didn't even paint until I got into the like painting area, because you start off and they put you in different kind of areas to get experience in different fields, and I was making a lot of like video work and installation sculpture work, and then it got to the time when you had to pick what course you want to go into, and I ended up going with painting. But there was a time when I wasn't sure that I want to be in painting or sculpture, just because I had done so much sculpture throughout the year, and I was kind of, it seemed a lot more open, and I wasn't sure, like, just because I've been doing painting so much before college, is this where I want to go? So it was a lot more of deliberation than I thought it would be. But the good thing about NCAD is you can, no matter what area you're in, you can do kind of whatever you feel like your art is bringing you towards. So my end of year show was a lot of sculpture as well. I was kind of using sculptural elements with painting. So I think that's probably where I'm going to keep my art in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not really sure where it's going to take me, but portraiture is definitely what I have been known for most, I think.
Yeah, it's extremely skilled, the portraiture side of things. And NCAD is, we were just talking beforehand, so it's either 3 or 4 years you can do. And like the third, did you say was Erasmus? Or
yeah, so it's kind of like a transition year in secondary school where you do things that aren't related to your course that you're in.
Yeah.
So I will be doing things, I think I will do it, so I'll be doing other areas that aren't related to painting, and then you can do an Erasmus option as well, which I'll definitely look to do. Have you done anything like that?
No, like I kind of had a different trajectory to you. Like I love hearing like how you kind of fostered your love and your talent for it. So young, it makes so much sense to me. I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been so much more straightforward. Because I mean, sorry to hijack what you're saying, but like I loved art all in school, but I just kind of had that thing of, well, obviously I couldn't be a professional artist. Like, there's no way. So I mean, I always had a strong sense of like kind of social justice. Such a goody two shoes. And I wanted to do something anyway. I didn't have a fucking clue, so I didn't know if I was going to do maybe like nursing. And then one time my mom came home from golf and she had this huge blister on her heel, and I was like, I'm going to be sick. I never want to see anything like that again. So cut the nursing. And in the end, I went into social work. And I did that for 3 years. But then in my third year of social work, I went to Australia to do kind of I suppose kind of an Erasmus, but essentially it was a 3-month placement. I was working with Aboriginal people over there, and that was great. But I was living in Melbourne, and just Melbourne is such a creative city, and there were so many people I was meeting who were making a living out of being creative and using their interest in art, and it just kind of stopped me on my tracks. And I don't know, I just was like, I want to do something else, something creative, and then so basically that began this kind of winding road towards where I am now. So I went to from there I did a course in DIT, and it's creative and cultural industries, and it was kind of like the second year they had ever done it, so it was a bit all over the place, but it was interesting. It was like, you know, film studies and PR and marketing and French, and it was kind of like doing transition year for a degree, but all that matters is I came out of a paper by the end of it. And from there I went into social media, and then I went into events, and then I went into journalism, and then I went into events again, and kind of environmental advocacy. And it was from there that I was at that point of like hosting loads of events and kind of giving talks about environmentalism and community, the importance of community and connecting the dots between ourselves and the world around us. And we're going all over the country. Actually, it was great. But then COVID strikes. And so there was no more events, and it meant that I was kind of stuck in my house for the whole time. And I was like, well, I guess I'll have to, pass my time some way. Might as well grab those stupid old paints that I haven't looked at in 10 years. And it was kind of like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. This is it. And it kind of just went from being a nice pastime to kind of more intense passion project to a side hustle to a part-time to now it's my full-time job.
So when did you kind of like firmly go, right, this is gonna be my career path?
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard because I was working with my friend Taz Keller, shout out to Taz, and we really loved working together, and the work that we were doing was fun, but also it felt like it was impactful and it had good heart to it. But it got to a point where I was trying to do both, and I just felt like I was doing both badly instead of either well. And, what I've come to realize now, and I was only starting to maybe it was starting to dawn on me that like being an artist is hard. And if you're not going to go in hell for leather, then you have to have a pretty good job to keep you going, or at least some kind of a better way to balance it out. And I just didn't have that. And I found as well, because I didn't have that maybe grounding or foundation of going to art college and things like that, that I really had so much work to do to get to a point of being able to show or to sell. So that's what I did. I just kind of put all my energy and time and money into it. And it's going relatively okay, I guess. But it's hard. So just trying to make it work at this stage.
Yeah, tricky. And but you have your first solo show, am I correct?
Yeah.
In November?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So it's basically a culmination of pretty much everything I've been harping on about for the last half an hour. It's called Sisters Not Twins, and it's the line Sisters Not Twins is taken from it's all about women and their, as I already said, women experience their body, the world around them with each other, because female relationships is really complex, as is female relationships with themselves. And for this idea, I wanted to kind of touch on an aspect of our reality that kind of summed up everything I wanted to say in a more succinct and impactful way. And the idea that I came to basically was boobs, because boobs are an element of the female anatomy that are so... The discrepancy between what we see in the world and what women feel is so different. Discrepancy is huge. So effectively, in the media, they are incredibly hypersexualized to the point of being illegal on Instagram. Female nipples aren't allowed, male nipples are.
Weren't you were some of your paintings sort of censored on Instagram?
Yeah, the painting that is going in your show, I put it up on Instagram and they made me take it down. They said, if you don't, your profile will be compromised.
Right.
Very threatening. But yeah, it blows my mind how crazy society's view of boobs are. So it's really hypersexualized on one side of the thing, kind of porn culture, all that kind of thing, or else they're this, beacon of motherhood and productivity and, kind of rendering women into just human cows. And whilst women's perspective and experience of their breasts is completely different, it's the burgeoning of adulthood and all this sudden attention that they hadn't otherwise experienced. But maybe it could be welcome, maybe it's not welcome. Oftentimes it's not welcome because we're so young. And then just even the development of the body and the kind of growing pains and all that brings, but also they can ultimately kill you. Breast cancer is a really common thing amongst women. I think it's 1 in 3 women at this point. And also when you have children, if you have children, they can be, amazing things and a way to connect with your baby in an incredible way. But also they can be something that makes you really, makes you have to stay at home a lot is what I realized. Like, I haven't had kids, but seen my sisters and just seen women around me and hearing stories now from which I never heard when I was younger. But, you know, if you're breastfeeding, it's actually really difficult, especially in those early years. It might mean that, or early days, it might mean that you're stuck at home all day, every day, because you might have to breastfeed like, you know, once an hour or something like that. And it's just a really restrictive aspect of your life as a new mom. And that's a really difficult thing that is completely misrepresented or not represented at all in the way media portrays breasts. So basically, long story, to bring you back to the answer that I was trying to give you, was I had this idea of, wouldn't it be cool to have a wall of 100 boobs, you know, all different shapes and sizes. Sorry, also the idea that breasts, a lot of women feel really self-conscious of their breasts. They feel like, oh, they're too small, they're too big, they've got big nipples, they've got small nipples, they've got hairy nipples, all this kind of thing. It just, there's so much shame and embarrassment wrapped up in what is ultimately a completely normal thing. And what I came to realize is that the only normal aspect of our bodies, but I suppose specifically breasts, if you're going to look at them, is the abnormality. That's the only thing that we have in common, because now that I've seen literally over 100 boobs and painted them, I'm actually at number 81 now at this point, but is that there's just such a huge range. And I feel like if we were able to use breasts as the example to be like, wow, why are we all so, you know, fretful about our bodies and concerned that we're weird or that's not normal or that's gross looking, when actually, look at this, there's a huge range, different shapes and sizes, ages, colours, all that kind of stuff. And yet it would be so difficult to look at any one image and say like, that's bad and that's good. And I guess that's really such a huge stakeholder of this project, which is trying to make women feel more seen and more connected to one another, and just chill out, guys. We're all okay. Is the kind of takeaway message I'd love for people to take. Yeah,
because just when you were saying that, I was just thinking back to when my kids were born. So, and you said one of the things about, say, breastfeeding, that it can be quite restrictive, say, for new mothers, because it's every few hours, you know, so therefore you're pretty much housebound. I remember the whole ordeal of the expressing. That just seemed invasive beyond belief. But I remember with my wife, the most difficult thing was the emotional turmoil of the baby not latching. And then, so instead of being the mother that was breastfeeding every 2 hours, my wife, that didn't work. So by not being able to do that, that caused her a lot of distress. So it's kind of just the flip side. It was just when you were saying it.
Yeah, it's just so complex.
Like either way, it's like draining.
Yeah,
you know. So
yeah,
no, it's interesting. And where is that actually going to be on?
So it's going to be on in City Assembly Hall, on St William Street in Dublin. So that's the Irish Georgian Society.
Oh, I was in that for an exhibition maybe last year.
Yeah,
I can't remember who ran the exhibition.
It's a gorgeous big round room. Like I feel like if I hung up plastic bags in there, it'd still be like, wow, amazing.
And that's a solo show.
Yeah,
amazing. Well done. Well done.
Thanks. If it happens,
no, it'd be fantastic. And Ross, like, okay, so you're slightly different because you're going into, say, second year.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe this is something you'll sort of experience more so over the coming years. But like, what difficulties do you find, or do you think you'll encounter, say, trying to establish yourself as an artist?
I think the main thing, so I always think like what makes the best art is just what makes the best life. Like you need to be able to live before you can make art, and I'm very lucky that I can like commute from home, live with my parents while I'm going to college. Yeah, and my commute is about an hour. I can get the train from Kildare and then walk from Euston to NCAD. But like, I don't want to obviously live with my parents forever, and just trying to like imagining myself like being established in Dublin and just knowing how like the price of rent and just the cost of living in the city. I'm not sure how those things are going to work when you're trying to survive as an artist, and it's such an uncertain way of structuring your life when it comes to like your income. So that's one thing that I'm just not sure how that's going to work out, but yeah, I think that's going to be the main difficulty.
A bit of time on your
it's-
hands.
yeah.
Anyway, like for the moment.
Yeah, I just think cost of living and rent prices in Dublin, because you want to be in the city where everything's happening and
Yeah.
it's the centre of art and like where all the exhibitions are and where everyone is and everything's going on. And then it just, I'm like, how is this possible? I don't know how people are making it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, like interacting with artists through Instagram and even the ones that I've met to date, and studio space is
Yeah.
the big issue
Yeah.
for artists, because like say you had the Dean Art Studios, and I think that's been taken over by Flux.
Yeah.
I think it's called, and obviously that's a huge offering in the city centre. 40 odd spaces for artists to practice. But I remember when I started sort of looking at this whole area sort of 2.5 years ago, like you just see, I think we'll say Richmond Studios closed, and then you'd hear like another place would close and another place would close, and like, what do you do? Do you end up like sort of packing it in the art perspective and having to go off and say get a normal job because you can't say afford to rent a studio? So yeah, there's lots of challenges.
Like I work from home, and if I didn't have that space to work from, I think I'd be doing exactly that. Like it just wouldn't be feasible.
Yeah.
It's such a hostile landscape for an artist.
Yeah.
And even I know the Arts Council give out grants, or the government give out grants. I can't remember if it's from the Arts Council or the government, but ultimately the government.
Yeah.
But like there's just not enough.
Yeah.
Simply not enough. So I mean, I'm struggling and I have space. I can't imagine how someone who is renting a studio is getting by. Like,
yeah, because it's huge, and obviously, like the sort of the selling nature of work, and obviously people to buy it, and so you don't have a sort of a set income in that sense. Yeah, it's very difficult. It's something. Yeah, it's just I've noticed it more and more, and it's a curious thing. Here's a question actually I asked Leah and Mazer, and it was just something that popped into my mind before. When you're painting a picture or you're starting out, is the name of the painting important to you at all, or do you paint the picture and then just sort of come up with a name, or does it have any bearing? Because when I tell you what they said, or well, put it this way. I was laughing with some of the others, and I was saying with my limited 6 weeks art experience, because I started painting at home for the bit of crack, and I was thinking of entering my own painting in and winning the prize, and then it would be a lot cheaper. It made sense to me. But like I was kind of messing around at home, and like I was coming up with ideas, but the name of the painting would come into my mind first, and then like I'd be just messing around, like this is horribly limited. But I asked the two of them, and the names weren't important to them. So that was a secondary part of the painting. So do you is it something, do you name the piece in your head beforehand, or is it just literally at the end?
Like, well, sorry, I don't know for you, but for me, it's honestly a melt to have to think of like, oh Christ, what's the title for this now? Because I'm so, I think I'm too literal. Like I would see myself as like a storyteller. I think I come from a journalistic background, and I love the idea of painting paintings that tell a story and have like a very kind of direct message. I'm probably overly literal compared to more abstract pieces. So when it comes to a title, I'm like, my boyfriend kind of slags it because he's like, oh, you're just going to say something like woman holding phone sitting on the toilet, like I'm just so like uncreative in that regard. The only time I've known a title and it's felt very actually appropriately literal is The Mansplain.
Yes.
But other than that, I'm kind of racking my brain. Sometimes I'll go on Instagram and be like, anyone have an idea for this? Maybe on my close friends.
Yeah.
But that's probably not a great way to go about it either. I think it's probably a skill that I need to work on.
Yeah, because you're the first year's one, with the lady sitting on the toilet. Was that like 5 minutes of me time or something?
20 minutes of me time.
20 minutes. It depends on
the day.
Yeah.
The diet. But yeah, so I find that really hard, and I think it is probably something that does hold importance.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, it kind of infuriates me when I see untitled pieces.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's equally a statement in of itself. But I kind of like, would you make some kind of an effort? So like, I'm here racking my brains. If I have to, then you have to.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's something that very successful artists seem to do.
Yeah.
But
I suppose maybe a successful stage have the luxury of not having to. What about you, Ross? What do you, if yours are? Well, sorry, go on.
I think, like you were saying about literal titles where you just describe what in the painting, I like those. I think they're a lot better than trying to like, when someone like tries to say something or they try to come up with something that's, you're wondering how does it relate to the painting, or like they're trying to have some, I don't know. I think there's something nice about just describing what the painting is, because it's like, I made a painting, this is what the painting is, and that's it. But I also like titles that are like completely unrelated. This is just when I'm viewing art, like if it's a painting of like a window or something, and then the title is like oyster or something, and then you wonder, that makes you think like, how are those two things completely unconnected? How do they come together? And I like when people do that. But personally, like my titles, it depends from piece to piece. I think whether I have the idea of the title from the start, or whether I am trying to come up with something at the end. My piece that I entered into this one, it's portrait of Summer Liako as Kathleen Houlihan.
Oh.
So it's based on, do you know the John Lavery painting of? Yeah. So it's like a new version of that, but with my girlfriend instead of Lady Lavery.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
class.
God, great.
Yeah, I would like to see her as well. We should show each other after.
Yeah.
But, so that I kind of had that idea from the start, because that was the point of the piece, was that it's the same title but just change the name.
Yeah.
But for other work like my end of year NCAD project, I was like really trying to come up with something, and I was like, do I just go untitled? But no, I came up with something that I was happy with.
Yeah, because your submission to the exhibition this year, like the detail that you wrote about the piece, it always, that's always one thing, like from someone who's never involved in it, in art, I much prefer, and I think it's a missing part. Like, so you'll have a painting on a wall, in a gallery, right? And like you might really like it, might be for you, but when someone has the explanation as to what the piece is about, all of a sudden it can change the painting in an instant. Yeah. So I often think like art is missing that.
I completely agree.
Or the artist is being sold short because they have a painting, it's on the wall, it's in a particular gallery. People are looking at it going, sure, what's that? You know, but it's only then when you attach what it's about, do you go, it's an integral part. And that's why I ask people in the submission to kind of write about their piece, because I fully understand, like, because like the level of detail that you went into, like, I wouldn't have known about the Lavery aspect of it. Yeah. It was only when you mentioned it, and then I was looking elsewhere, I was doing my little bit of research, you know, and it just opened it up so much more to me as a layperson.
Yeah, I think that was important for that piece, because you wouldn't understand unless you knew. But also, I'm not the biggest fan of artists like over-explaining their work or giving an explanation of what the interpretation has to be. And I think should be a lot more about just suggesting or asking questions than telling the viewer, this is what I made it to say and this is what it says, and that's the one interpretation. I don't really view art that way, and I think you get a lot more out of art when you view without an explanation first, and then you read the explanation, you see, how did my opinion change, and what was the intention of the art of the artist. I also think like the intention of the artist isn't actually that important for what the viewer gets from it, because I could see work and it could really appeal to me, and I can get something from it that I love, and then the artist could have some explanation of why they did it, and I won't agree with it, you know. But that's okay, because I think that's what art is about. Just
I think knowing it would make it like better. I feel like the duality of your experience and their intention or their understanding of it is just like creates a deeper understanding of it. Like I'm always like desperate to understand what's like being kind of, you know, communicated or portrayed, because I feel like I like I said, like I get such a literal understanding. I'd love to know more about it, say particularly abstract art and stuff. I think my understanding is pretty shallow there. That I would love some more. But those kind of, I feel like the people who do that type of art are usually much more kind of like, no, just let it speak for itself. I'm like, I want answers.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. One part I love about the exhibition is kind of in the build up to it. You know, when all your artwork is in, I always bring in some friends and I let them kind of wander around and just kind of, you know, pick the pieces that they like. And I'm always interested to see what they like, why they like it. So, and that's the beauty of it, because like it's fun, but it's also extremely hard when choosing the art for the exhibition to get a broad sort of, you know, to get bits of everything, and also, you know, to pick work that different cohorts or groups will like, because you don't necessarily like every style of art. You might appreciate them, but it mightn't be the one that you gravitate towards. So it's a challenge, but it's a real fun part of putting the exhibition together. So what, Ross? What does the future hold for Ross apart from going into second year?
Well,
you passed your exams, obviously.
Yeah,
that's good. That's
got into painting. It's like, it depends on your grades what course you get into.
All right.
So yeah, gone into painting, which was what I wanted. In the immediate future, I have 2 exhibitions in on Culture Night that my work's going to be in.
Excellent.
There's one in Temple Barrett in Irish Blood Motorcycle. It's a motorcycle shop.
Okay.
And they gave a group of 10 artists motorcycle tanks to paint, and they're going to be hung and displayed with our like different approaches to how we would paint on motorcycle tanks.
Deadly. So the actual sort of the tanks on the top of
they're like
whatever they hold. Like, I'm not sure. Yeah, those bits.
Yeah. That was a really different approach.
And how did you get involved in that?
It was just 2 girls from my year were organising it because they work for the shop, and they asked. It's mostly people from my year that are going to be in it.
Right.
So a lot of young artists. Should be great.
Yeah, that's cool. Are they for sale?
Yeah, they are.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Well, you probably don't say what you painted.
I did kind of. It's so we got to pick our tanks, and they were all black.
Okay.
One was silver, so I picked the silver one, and it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like this shape, and then it has this oval shape in the middle.
Yeah,
and it reminds me of the mandorla, which is from like Renaissance art and kind of late Gothic art, which was used. It's the shape. It means holy almond in Latin or Italian. But it's the shape that Jesus was always painted in. It's like a holy shape. It's in Buddhist art as well. So this shape that was in the tank, it's like this hole in the tank, reminded me of that. And then, so I turned it into this kind of late Gothic style altarpiece that has, I used images from, or it's the composition of the Transfiguration, which is one of these kind of icons that is painted. So yeah, I don't know how much more to describe about it. But it's one of those things that's like, you definitely need the explanation when
well, it's a unique surface to be painting on. Anyway,
yeah.
I suspect it's your first time painting on.
Yeah, definitely. But it was the combination of like the shape in the middle, and then the silver instead of kind of the gold background that is seen in icon painting. And I went to Florence this summer, so I was looking at all that style of art and early Christian art, which I think is so cool. So I was just inspired by that.
And then your second, are you involved in, did you say you were involved in two shows?
The other one, it's number 8 gallery. It's in Kildare Town.
Okay.
And there's a framer there as well, so it's just a portrait exhibition. I'm going to have some work. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in. I've not painted the work yet.
When's that?
The 20th of September, both of them are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no rush on the painting then.
Yeah, well, I need to get it done as soon as possible. But yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's I look forward to that. The one in Temple Bar. That's definitely. Yeah, it's really interesting seeing the different ones.
Yeah. It's on Culture Night, so there's going to be so much on that. Like, it's kind of annoying. It's all on one night. Because
Okay, so
It's
is
only
it?
for one night.
it should be open more than one night. Yeah. But I always think about like they put all these things on one night and you can only go to one of them.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
should be good.
because the number 8 in Kildare, that's on Culture Night as
Yeah,
well.
so I won't be able to go
Alright.
to both. I'm going to be at the Temple Bar one though.
Yeah.
But they'll both be open for not just a night.
I think I'll have to be at the Temple Bar one
Yeah.
as well and to have a look.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. And Geraldine, I see from Instagram, our beloved Instagram, that you were doing some class in the RHA.
I was doing some classes in the Hugh Lane
Sorry, the
Gallery.
Hugh Lane, yes.
Yes. To be honest, I was like, it's only downhill from here. Like it was so glorious, with beautiful space, and there was 30 women all with easels, and it was a kind of contemporary female expression class.
Yeah.
So I gave a bit of a spiel at the start about how women have historically been left out of art and the creation of art and the projection of our own image. And it was kind of like, it was obviously had a bit of a serious message to it, but also was kind of funny. And we were comparing how like men, like the female nudes versus the male nudes, and women, the female nudes are just like everyone is listless and like kind of dead looking, lying down, whilst even the male nudes are like thrilled at themselves and like, you know, real like proud man moments. But anyway, so it was a bit of a laugh, and then we did just live drawing, and it was lovely. They got a bit of pushback though because it was women only. It was women and non-binary people. That I think one or two men were disgruntled that they weren't allowed to be part of it in this one. And
Seriously?
yeah, oh fully, like as in, you know, they were asking would I take down the post and stuff because they didn't want more backlash, which I thought was absolutely outrageous. And
So like some random man out there took issue with it.
yeah, and so like, you know, I felt bad for the Hugh Lane because they were really behind me and like, you know, trying to do something different, and honouring also that, you know, they've got a responsibility to the fact that they have historically, you know, housed male artists, and now this is a chance for women to get involved in the art making. And anyway, they were just, I think, getting pressure from the higher powers, but anyway, it went ahead and it was great, and I would love to do more, but at the moment anyway, I'm pretty focused on the show, and also alongside the show there's a documentary being made about kind of the show, but actually more so about the women taking part in their stories. And it's just great because I kind of don't really have to do any work for that, but it's still something that's kind of projecting the message that I wanted to get out.
What's like the documentary time frame? Is that going to be released on?
That's gonna we're gonna have a private screening just for the women involved.
Okay.
I think just after the show launch, but it's gonna be out I think in March I think of next year. It's part of the Catalyst Film Festival, and then from there they're hoping to show it to all the other festivals.
All the other film festivals. So you have a lot of exciting things, both of you, in the pipeline. Yeah, solo shows and Culture Night. You doing anything for Culture Night?
No, actually, I always forget that it's on because it's like kind of just around my birthday. So anyway, I would love to do something, but it's always a bit of a manic time, I think. I love the concept of it, but yeah, like you were saying, there's just so much on. It kind of feels like whatever you do, you're missing out on something else, which as someone with chronic FOMO, I'm just like, I'm missing out. But I'm sure it'd be great anyway. I'd love to actually check out your show. Is this going to be the last time you do this, or are you going to do anything?
Yeah, well, the idea was one exhibition, and that genuinely was the idea, and I thought it would fall flat in its face, genuinely. So that's why I was saying, people are probably sick of hearing it if they listen to each of the podcasts, but one of the reasons I wore the mask was that when it fell flat in its face, firstly, I wouldn't lose face because I didn't know, and secondly, then I wouldn't have to pay anyone the 10 grand because no one knew who I was. Like, that's it. So I was there going, this isn't going to work. Because when I look back on it, I only set up the Instagram account in the March 2021, and I had the exhibition in October. So to get followers and people actually painting, and when I look at the time scale that I gave myself, thankfully I didn't know. I thought, it's plenty of time. But now when I look at it and see how long it takes to paint a picture and so on, and all the other stuff that artists are doing, you know, it was a very tight time frame. But so then when I did the second one, I was here going, no, that's definitely my last one. And then I decided to do a third. Couldn't help myself, you know. And so it will be my last one.
Yeah, you're ending on a high, but you know, it's so funny because I remember when the first images of the Art Riddler were coming around for the first show and people were sharing it, I think. I was just like, ugh, what a hack. I mean, clearly this is a scam. Clearly, look at like, I can't believe anyone would be stupid enough to fall for this kind of thing. And then I remember going to the show and I was sick with, again, the FOMO, like, and jealousy. And I was like, I actually think I did. I think I messaged you being like, if you got any last minute cancellations, here's a painting.
Yeah, you didn't apply for the first one. And Ross is
I didn't
never
know about
applied.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is his first outing. So yeah, no, because no, I was like, I was really like, I think it's lovely that artists took a chance on it. Like, there was one artist, Ross Watson. So he's based up in Donegal, I think it is, and he has a piece actually in the RHA, the annual exhibition this year. It was, you went to it presumably?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like of a rocket. It was on the ground floor when you went in on the left. So it was kind of a rocket sitting in a sort of a forest setting.
Oh yeah.
So I remember,
Huge.
yeah, exactly. And I remember he kind of got on board early enough, like, with it, and kind of, he was messaging me and so on. And I remember talking to him a later date. He said he just decided to send the painting and see what happened. You know, see if he ever saw the painting again or whether this was actually a real setup. And so I loved the fact, like, I felt a great compliment that people sent their work, because you put your heart and soul into it. And, you know, they send all their quality work, the stuff that they've been working on for so long, to somebody who's they've only seen through Instagram. And so that felt really cool. It was a real nice sense of kind of community about it. And the first one worked well.
It was amazing, and the big reveal across the road. Again, I was kind of freaked out. I thought you were going to, like, produce a gun.
Yeah, all the signs were there, like, you know, masked man, like, you know. And that was good fun. I hadn't thought about that. Only the morning we were still hanging the stuff, and I was there going. I was kind of starting to sweat it a bit, going like, how would I do this? And I still hadn't thought about it. I still hadn't thought about the winner, and, you know, so I had to run over and get a bank draft. So I had to pick a winner, you know, to put their name on it, and it was good. I love the quality of the work that comes in. Like, the stuff that's coming in already is unbelievable. So while it's deadly, and I love opening up my emails every day and seeing all the ones come in, it starts to get stressful, because I'm there going like, here's another amazing one, how am I going to have to say no to somebody? Because that's the worst part about it.
Yeah, get your Simon Cowell on.
Yeah. It's awful. It really is, particularly because, like, I've sort of strangely built up a sort of like a long distance relationship with artists, you know, through Instagram. You know, we've all talked at, you know, various stages and that, and there's plenty of others who I talk to. You know, there's every possibility maybe that they mightn't be in, but it's not because the work isn't good. The work's great, but it's just you can only fit in so many pieces, and that's so. And you're trying to give different people a shot as well, which is always nice. Like, it's a good feeling to give somebody an opportunity who might get an opportunity to display their work beside somebody that they admire. It's a good feeling. So yeah, the last one.
Do you have help from artists, were you saying, for the judging this year?
Yeah. So what I did this year, the last 2 years, I just picked the piece, and then I was kind of, well, you know, and they were two very different pieces between the first year and the second year, and then I was kind of going like, will I change this up slightly, or just to make sure that there's a balance, because, you know, as we discussed earlier, everybody has their own particular sort of tastes, and I've had to kind of broaden mine as I've learned about the different areas, because I've often said in this podcast to date, I didn't actually really know what, say, abstract art was beforehand, and now I have appreciation for it because I've gone around and looked at it. So I asked Mazer, and then I have a lady who's at the moment going to remain anonymous, but she is kindly agreed to do it. So whether or not she decides to let her name out there or not, time will tell. But she's involved in the arts and a keen collector of the arts. So
Chili Smith, is it?
And actually, between myself and say Mazer and the other person, we would all have different tastes.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, interesting as well. Because the reason I actually decided to bring other people on board for the picking, I was at sort of a preview night I was brought to in the RHA for the Hennessy Craig and the Potterman, I think it is, award. So there was kind of a preview night that through a friend I got invited to, so I went along to that. And Patrick Murphy in the RHA, he was talking about how they pick who's going to be the 2 prize winners, and they have a panel of 3. I sort of said to myself, okay, that might be something. And they swap it every year, so it's a brand new panel every time, so a freshness, so that maybe the same type of, winner doesn't sort of, the same style doesn't appear each year. So I just sort of said, okay, well, Mazer, we're surrounded by all of his work and his areas of likes, and this other person is very much a broad, and I have my own taste. So I thought it'd be a nice combination, and just a sort of a fairer approach then. Yeah. Because someone left field, might come out, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And that'll be fun.
Have you got any people like responding in like furiously that they got rejected or?
No, I haven't really. There was one guy, and I was scrambling to look at his name to find his name again. I've got no negative backlash from it. Like I had one guy it wasn't negative, but it was more like, why don't you just give the 10 grand to an artist? And then I was there, well, that's what I am doing, but I'm also putting on a show where other people have the opportunity to make money. So I say thanks for the insight. But then, no, I had one artist, and I was here, well, what an idiot, because he painted this picture. It was a really good picture. And he was it for the first year? I think it might have been for the first year. And I sort of had my definites, and then I had a few kind of maybes, if I could squeeze them in, because I was working off a certain amount of square footage. And he was on my squeezing in list, and I pretty much had him sort of worked into it. And then I couldn't. But being the first year, I still sort of had a standby list in case, like when I was in hanging, I was there going, maybe then if I see the space a bit better, I might be able to fit him in. And he sent me this rant, about, who am I to not pick him and this type of thing. So I was there like, what an idiot, because I was here going, you'll now never get into any of mine. I think he actually applied, it was the first year, and he applied for the second year. And I said, well, I'm not going to consider you for the second year. So out of all the artists I've dealt with, that's nothing. Yeah. So no, it's people are cool. It's a really nice community. Yeah. And I've never been involved in. I wouldn't have been involved in. I would never be sitting here with you. Our paths probably wouldn't have crossed. And it's super refreshing and just interesting.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I was in a completely different world, so I had no interactions or contacts in the art world, but it's only now from going to shows and stuff, obviously you meet people, but actually I do Mazer's run on the Saturdays.
Yeah, the Artful Joggers.
Yeah, the Artful Joggers.
Yeah.
And that's been so good, honestly. Well, just because I didn't even think I could run 5k, first of all, that's great for the ego. But also to actually get to chat to people in a more kind of calm setting and to really get to know each other away from the art world, although of course that kind of comes into play as well. That's just been such a great thing I've found to foster a sense of community. And because it can feel so alone, I think again is what I'm realizing is when you're in a studio all by yourself all day every day, you get in your head and having those kind of outbreaks with people who get it is so helpful, because my family would be like, hey, just take a break, it's okay, you don't understand. So things like that I think has been really great for me anyway.
Yeah, the community aspect,
talking to someone who is living as an artist, it gives you faith, okay, this is possible, people are doing this, and they're happy, so it's very important, I think, because when you're starting off, you're you just have, there's no guidebook or anything just on how any of this works, So it is really, like, what you pick up just from talking to someone, even if it's just reassurance that it is possible, it's really important to get.
Yeah. So, because like one of the things I'm doing for the exhibition, it's sort of what I did last year. I'm going to bring you all, and like this, because I have the space for much longer. Like I have it from Thursday the 24th of October right through to Sunday the 3rd. Oh, wow. So that's how long for the actual exhibition. So I have it for a good few days before that for the hanging, so it'll be less stressful this time around. And then obviously for the takedown then as well. So the invites are, I'm doing a preview night on the Thursday the 24th. So, but I'm inviting all the artists who are exhibiting to that, and then different. I'm going to invite all the artists who are exhibiting, say from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, so you have an hour to kind of mill around with each other and just chat and stuff and all that kind of community, and meet other artists. And then at 6 o'clock, the doors are going to open for an invite event only. So for 6 to 9, so it should be a calmer but still very busy opening night, and then the Friday night will be the main night where anyone can come in, and the prize will be announced.
Everyone's still stand with their phones in the air again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm running out of ideas. I was there going like, 'cause I only thought about that beforehand, so I was there going like, what do I do? So with a lot of things, I'll just decide on the day. Figure it out.
What day is the Friday?
The Friday is the 25th.
Okay. My birthday is the next day.
Oh, that's right. You can wake up with a hangover.
Yeah.
And 10,000 euro.
Yeah, that'll be a good birthday present.
Yeah, and there'll be lots of free booze at it, so we'll make it a good night. But listen, thanks so much for coming along today.
It was great.
It's a real pleasure to meet you both.
Yeah,
and to chat. And it's great that you'd never met and you got to listen to each other and that, and then you'll obviously know each other to chat to now, and you see each other again on the 24th of October.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike. That was great.
All right.